This is the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mosen.
It's Friday, folks. It's great to be back here again, and it's always wonderful to have my good friend John Ondo back. John won an Emmy. It's been a year. It's last August, right?
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there. And you're phenomenal. You have done some great work. You're very humble.
Kind.
You're very humble. You really are, and I have to just make sure that the world knows about how great you are, the work that you've done. You're more like the behind the scenes guy, but you shouldn't be. You should be on the front end of it.
No, not really. I like behind the scenes, but I appreciate it. And I mean, what you've done is, especially as we've met, and I've gotten to see what you do with your radio show, and how you're encouraging people, especially helping listeners to be able to get self-powered into doing things.
Right.
I mean, that's just awesome too. So.
Well, I think that the whole part of life is that it should be life-changing. Every interaction should make a difference.
Right.
I think that it's great to be up and alive. Those are things that we take for granted. I mean, gratitude for the people that you meet. I've met some amazing people in my life, and our listeners over the years have been phenomenal. You have worked with some amazing people. You've done documentaries. You've done so many different projects. Can you share a little bit about your work?
Well, the thing that I've always been blessed by from the beginning is as I grew up in the small town that I was in, we had a Christian television station, which is what got me into broadcasting. I love broadcasting, but we spent a lot of our time just focused on telling stories of individuals who had lives just transformed, either through careers or families, or maybe healing from some disease that somebody told them they weren't ever going to survive from. So that was my background. Was just, I always said, and I still do, I have the greatest job in the world. I get to tell these amazing stories of how people's lives are being changed.
Right.
So that continues, and I enjoy the testimonial side of it. I enjoy the business side of it, because that's part of it too. God can bless a business. God can bless a person individually. There's a lot of ways this can go, and so I just get to tell the stories of what's happening with people, and I think ultimately what it comes down to is we're all here for some purpose. The question is, if you're not happy with what you're doing, if you continuously are griping about things, then I would probably say probably an idea that you're not where you're supposed to be somewhere in life.
Right. And I think sharing stories, which you do, I love the movies, I love TV, I love music. Those are the things that I do enjoy a lot. And just doing the documentaries, you're working on other things with fitness folks out there, and and I'm certain that I'll be at the Arnold Festival, so I'm looking forward to that with Rob Fletcher and his group.
The biggest bodybuilding
convention,
festival on the planet, and I am the most out of shape person in the world, so I'll be easy to spot.
Well, I mean, I don't think you are, but
trust me, I am. I shoveled snow last week, and my back is gone, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I think you have to enjoy life and have balance. And,
yes.
And some of us are more driven to one end and perhaps not, kind of meeting in the middle.
Right.
You have a great family. You have beautiful children.
Yes.
At the end of the day, doing what you love is number one, I think. And
I think you have to go back and model the fact with my kids and other things we all have in life. And one of the decisions I've had to make in my life is I want my kids to see me happy.
Right.
I don't. And this may step on some toes, but I don't believe that we as parents are here to just stop our lives to serve our kids. I think that's important, but we need to be modeling to them success and how to build successful businesses or successful families or relationships, and to just shut everything down, which I just don't think that's a healthy thing. I think we do need to have balance, and I want to be able to show my kids, yes, you can be a successful dad, and then shut off the phone, which I don't do enough as I should, but take time with the kids and do that. So I think everything in life, to some degree, we have to model it.
Well, the being in balance and mindful and paying attention to the needs of people in general. I think every interaction, I've said this before, you want to leave that person feeling better about themselves. And in finance, we deal with some very difficult situations. Often people think that it's just a numbers thing, and it isn't. It's a very emotional thing. There's so many stories. I mean, amazing stories about people who've gone through good, bad times, their weddings and first purchases of homes, and then their divorces and issues where you're breaking up and the home has to be also dispersed and property-wise, et cetera. So I say to folks, the one thing that I have to say when I met you is this: you are very gifted, you're very talented. We are working on a project together.
Yes.
It's coming up, and I'm excited to be able to share it when it does happen, and certainly it's a collaborative effort, and that's what I love, because life is a team sport.
It is, and I think that's what's great about this is this project you're working on is a reflection of you. It's a collaborative,
Perhaps.
with a lot of people, and a lot of people who've influenced your life, and that's
Very
kind
much
of
so.
fun. That's
Very,
a lot of fun.
I say that, what's interesting is the word help in the Western world is considered a very negative word. And it's funny because I've been, I've lived everywhere because of my parents.
Right.
But I come from Asia, so the mindset is very different in Asia, because everything is more sort of it's a togetherness,
Right.
We're kind of like an Italian family.
Right.
You just can't get any space, but everyone's
Right.
right there. So I think help is use it as a positive word, because without help, not a single person would be here where they should
Right.
be. And that reflects my life. There was just things that have happened, and if a person did not come in and help me, my first internship happened. There was no reason why I would have interned and then worked for this individual who is a very wonderful and dear friend of mine, who wasn't in the beginning, but
Right.
I interned. That changed my life, and things like that I'm sure have happened in your life.
Well, absolutely. Last year it was, a sad occasion, but the general manager of the TV station, he founded the TV station that I mentioned before, passed away, and we were doing his memorial, and it was very much a celebration, but yet there was so much wisdom that he had that I wish we still had. But he embraced young people. At the time I was a teenager, and he embraced having young people come in and mess around and do stuff with equipment and do television in different ways. And to have somebody like that who was a mentor for me. And I know in the early days I was the young kid, like, hey, why don't we do this? This is cool. And he's like, no, that's not going to work. And I think, oh, come on. And now as I've gotten older, I began to realize the wisdom he had, realizing, no, John, that's a fad. It's happened before, and it will happen again. And I think we have lost that, unfortunately, in our country. We've kind of gotten into the point where kids come out of college, and I deal with this all the time when I run into interns, and they feel like, oh, I've got a diploma, give me a job. And I'm like, no, you have a diploma. You are now ready to learn something, because you have to go through a mentorship process. You have to learn from somebody who's done it. And just because you've got the textbook idea or you know how to build a Twitter account does not mean that you're an expert at the field. You need to learn some things.
Right.
So I know I'm sounding like the old guy now, but it's true. I think we really, and I have mentors in my life still that I look at and say, hey, what do you think about this? Is this dumb? Am I jumping the gun on things? And it's I think that mentor-apprentice relationship is critical.
I think that, you can have great teachers. I think that everyone is in equal standing. I really do. I think that you learn from each other.
Yeah.
And it takes time and experience. Sometimes you have to go through the experience. That's the process in itself.
I've been through many of those.
Yeah,
more than I can mention on the air here. But yeah, I've been through some experiences.
If you're stubborn and bullheaded, you will have to live through the experience, and
Yes.
that's just the reality of life. And you learn, and that's the only way to go through that and see for yourself.
Well,
And Ondo Media is great. You have services that you offer for the work that you do, and
yeah, basically, just as we tell stories, I believe that you're telling a story about a business. There's just an explosion happening with video on web, and it's beginning at the point now where if you don't have video about your business or video about your brand on the web, you're kind of behind the times. So I'm really blessed. I feel like I'm in a perfect position at the perfect time to offer services for businesses, and especially I work with a lot of small businesses. I love small businesses, to help them say, hey, what are you trying to do? What's your brand? What makes you different? And kind of guide them along in the process and create video and media for them and help them along. So that's what Ondo Media does, and we do documentaries and other big things too. But that's fun for me to do, to help build something.
Right, and it is about memories. I think it's just very important to share memories, and I think that movies and documentaries are memorable, and there's an art behind it, and I personally would have preferred to be an artist. I just don't know how to draw at all.
Well, you are an artist because it takes a different type of artistry for finance. And when I sit down and I talk to my guy who does my taxes, and he starts pulling the stuff out of his head, and I'm like, how do you do this? It's beyond me. But there's an artistry to, I think, everything, that people have these gift sets, and so you are an artist, and you're just a different type of artist. There's people who do watercolors, and I'm like, how do you do that? That's
Perhaps.
it's just like cool. So,
But listen, John, we're going to have you back, and I'm
Great.
looking forward to our project and the release of it. There, it certainly has been fun, and I am privileged to have met you. I think you're absolutely terrific at what you do, and
feeling is mutual, Sarah. It's awesome.
I encourage our listeners, if you are looking for someone who can put together a nice piece for you, whether it's a documentary or other related items for a business, for
Videos
that
for
matter,
web,
John Ondo is the man. And again, I welcome you back again soon. Okay?
Thanks so much.
All right. Stay well, folks.
This has been the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.